Your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists. In minutes, the movie begins with Julia on the boat with her family. We learn that they are on a trip to celebrate their son Ben's birthday. Everyone is happy and enjoying the trip. Julia decides to go into the water to swim. After some time, Julia feels that something strange is happening. She looks around but finds nothing. She dives underwater and sees that everything is normal. She begins to relax and continue swimming. Suddenly, she feels the water pulling her backward with force. She finds herself drifting away from the boat. She tries to swim back with all her strength, but the current is very strong. Julia panics and starts screaming, calling for Tom to save her. Tom hears her voice, looks at her, and panics when he sees her drowning. He quickly moves the boat closer to her and jumps into the water to rescue her. When Julia gets back on the boat, she tells them that she suddenly felt something strange pulling her backward, but she doesn't know what it was. Tom calms her down and tells everyone that if anyone wants to go into the water, they should inform him first. He also warns them not to swim far from the boat because the ocean is full of dangers and could drown them. At night, they celebrate Ben's birthday and everyone gives him a gift. Tom gives Ben a laptop, which makes him very happy, and he thanks him. Cassie gives him a scary mask to use during Halloween. Julia gives him a bracelet, saying it brings good luck. Afterward, Cassie goes to talk to her boyfriend, Adam, and tells him that the trip is very boring and she can't wait for it to end so she can return to the city. Suddenly, Cassie is shocked when she sees many clouds in the sky behind Adam. Adam is also surprised and wants to know the reason for the cloud's appearance, but the call suddenly disconnects and Cassie can't reach him again. She goes to her family and tells them what happened. Suddenly, they hear a strange sound around them. They all go to the deck and turn on the flashlight. At that moment, they are shocked to see a large group of whales. One whale passes under the boat, and after the whales leave, Tom decides to dive and check the boat to see if the whale caused any damage. After some time, Tom surfaces with an injury on his shoulder. He tells them that one of the boat's propellers is broken and the others are heavily damaged. He also says he felt a large object moving behind him, but when he tried to turn around to see what it was, he got injured by the propeller and couldn't identify it. Julia stitches his wound and asks if he can fix the damaged propellers. Tom informs her that it's difficult and that their only option is to call for help. At that moment, Cassie climbs to the highest point of the boat to try to get a signal on her phone to call Adam and check on him, but she fails. Meanwhile, Julia uses the radio to call for help but gets no response. Tom tries to move the boat, but it doesn't budge. He takes the radio from Julia and keeps trying to reach someone, but with no success. He then reassures Julia, telling her they have enough food and water for 4 days until someone finds them and helps them. He also tells her that they are in a shipping lane and no ships will pass through this route for days. While they are talking, the radar gives a signal that something is approaching them. They all get scared and go to the deck to see what it is. They are shocked to see a burning object falling from the sky and hitting the water's surface. They are confused and don't know what it is. Suddenly, another burning object falls near the boat, causing a strong shake. Tom tries to move the boat away from the area, but the engine breaks down. They notice smoke coming from the engine room. Tom opens the door and is shocked to find the engine on fire. A new storm begins, and they all rush inside the boat, closing all doors and windows to protect themselves. But the boat shakes violently due to the storm, causing Ben to fall and hit the ground. They all rush to check on him and are relieved to find his injury minor. Tom quickly brings them life jackets to wear. Suddenly, they all start feeling unwell. Julia's nose starts bleeding. Cassie vomits, and Tom feels a headache. The next day, Julia and her family wake up to find the boat destroyed. The bigger shock comes when they discover that the ocean has disappeared, and the boat is stranded on a high hill surrounded by mountains. None of them can comprehend how the ocean could vanish so quickly. Cassie tries to get a signal on her phone but fails. Ben goes to his father and asks what they will do now. Tom tells him that there must be other people around and that he will try to contact them until someone responds. Ben tells him he trusts him and remembers his father's saying that every problem has a solution. Tom is surprised when he looks at his compass and tells his family that something is not normal because north now points to the south and south to the north. He explains that the poles have reversed, a phenomenon that last occurred over 700,000 years ago. Ben asks where the ocean is. Tom says the ocean has moved to the land, likely flooding all the cities in its path. Cassie is devastated, realizing this means her boyfriend Adam might be dead. She goes inside the boat, breaks down, and starts crying. Julia follows her to comfort and reassure her. Meanwhile, Ben ties his birthday balloons and releases them into the sky. When his parents see him, he tells them it's so that if anyone is alive, they will see the balloons and come to them. Tom then manages to get the radio working and sends out a distress signal until someone responds. He learns that the person's name is Noah and that he was on an underwater expedition in a submarine. Noah advises them to take their family to a high place and settle there because when the ocean returns, it will come back with great force, posing a danger to their lives. Tom and Julia become worried about their children and ask Noah for his location so they can go to him and take shelter in his submarine, which would be safer than any other place. They plead with him to take Ben and Cassie, coordinates of the place where he is. It will take 3 days for them to reach him, so he tells them now that he will stay next to the wireless device if they need anything from him. Afterwards, Tom tells Julia that they need to sleep well because they will start their journey the next day. The following day, before they set off, Tom sees someone coming towards them with his dog. Tom quickly goes to him, taking a bottle of water with him. At that moment, Julia sees him and follows him. When Tom reaches the man, he gives him the water and the man drinks it all. But then, the man hits Tom with the bottle in his face, causing him to fall to the ground. Julia is shocked and runs to save him. But the man has a primitive spear he made himself, and he uses it to stab Tom, killing him. Julia screams in terror and tries to run away, but the man throws the spear at her. It doesn't hit her directly, but injures her shoulder. Julia continues running until she reaches the boat. When Cassie notices her, she quickly runs to her with Ben, and they all get inside the boat. Julia locks the door behind them and hides Ben and Cassie so the man won't see them and kill them. Julia gives Cassie a flare gun to defend herself if anything happens to her. She then treats Julia's wound and holds a knife to protect herself. At that moment, the unknown man reaches the boat and starts pushing the door until he manages to open it. He enters and starts searching for them. When he sees food, he begins eating it, showing that he wants to eliminate anyone alive on the boat to take control of the food and drink for himself. He continues searching everywhere. During this time, Julia manages to escape through an opening in the boat and quickly hides so the man won't see her. When she moves from her hiding spot, the dog sees her and attacks her, knocking her to the ground. But Julia stabs the dog with the knife, killing it. At that moment, the man is on the boat's deck and becomes very angry when he sees the dead dog. Julia goes around the other side and manages to re-enter the boat, but the man attacks her, hits her hard, and knocks her to the ground. Then he starts choking her and is about to kill her. At that moment, Cassie appears and shoots the man with the flare gun, causing him to fall to the ground. Freedom returns to the boat, and Julia quickly takes as much food and drink as she can. Then she and her children leave the boat and go to Tom's body, where they cry. At that moment, Julia is shocked to see the man still alive, coming out of the boat. She takes her children and runs away quickly before he can catch them. Julia keeps running with her children until they are far enough away. Then they sit down to rest, and Julia takes out the map to find the location of the submarine. Cassie tells her mother that the balloons led the killer to their location. Ben feels more upset and guilty and refuses to talk to anyone, but Julia goes to him and tells him it's not his fault. She keeps talking to him until he calms down. Afterward, they continue walking, and the surrounding area turns into a desert. It becomes apparent that many fish have died due to the ocean's disappearance. Suddenly, Julia sees the man following them. She takes her children and runs with all her strength until they manage to put a considerable distance between them. At that moment, Julia discovers that Ben is exhausted and suffering from dehydration. She lets him sit down to rest and gives him water to drink, but she is shocked to find that the water in the bottle is finished. Cassie tells her she forgot the bottle open. Julia breaks down and starts yelling at her, saying they might die due to the lack of water. Cassie becomes upset by her words and tells her they're going to die anyway. She tells Julia she can't save them from all the dangers around them. Julia loses her temper and starts screaming, but eventually regains her composure. She takes her children and continues their journey. They keep walking until they find a plane in front of them. Julia opens the plane door and they enter and sit inside. She gives her children food and asks them to sleep after eating. Later, Cassie sees Julia holding a picture of all of them, looking very sad about Tom's death. Cassie tells her she can't believe she won't see him again and asks Julia to tell her about the first time she met her father. Julia, emotionally affected, recounts that she was 22 years old at the time, training at the hospital. Tom came to the hospital with a colleague who had been in an accident. Julia says Tom admired her from the first moment he saw her. 2 days later, she was surprised to find him waiting for her outside the hospital with flowers. They got to know each other and became close, until one day, Tom got a work-related travel opportunity. He told her he wouldn't travel unless she went with him. Julia says this step was difficult for her at the time because she would have to leave her job and start over over in a new place. Tom told her his famous phrase, "Every problem has a solution." Afterward, they all sleep. Cassie wakes up to go to the bathroom. At that moment, the man appears and attacks her to kill her. But Julia comes from behind him and looks out with a knife. So he falls on the ground and she goes down on him and keeps hitting him until she kills him. So she tries to calm her down and they go to sleep in the plane, and the next day they get out of the plane to continue their trip. But they are surprised by the sight of that person's body, which appears that she was attacked by a wild animal. And at that moment, Julia warns her children and tells them that they will face something dangerous. They do not know what it is. And after that, they walk for a long time until Ben sees a pool of water in front of him. So he runs to it and falls. He runs to drink, but Cassie and Julia run quickly towards him and he stops. At that moment, Julia yells at him and tells him that he might catch a disease. Ben actually gets tired after that, and Julia and Cassie help him walk until they reach a place where there are a lot of chairs. Ben sits on a chair to rest, while Cassie is happy with her mother. They make a small hut out of the chairs for them to sit in. At that moment, Julia takes a syringe from her bag and checks Ben with it so that his condition improves and he can walk on his feet. Why? After that, they all go to sleep, but Julia wakes up after a while. This is because she heard the sound of something strange around them. When she goes outside, she hears the sound getting closer to them, so she arranges for them to sleep and they all run out. At that moment, they find a capsized cargo ship in front of them, and a lot of containers have fallen from it. They also see 3 of the ship's workers, so they quickly run towards them so that they ask for help from them, but the workers are afraid of them and enter the container and lock themselves in. So Julia and her children go up to the container and hear a large group of crabs appear and hurt Julia in her legs before she goes up to the container. At the same time, the crabs enter the container through a small opening and they attack the 3 workers in it. The workers keep shooting at them, but the crabs are in large numbers and they attack them and kill them all. At that time, Julia and her children are sitting on top of the container and she is taming her legs, but she gets tired. She falls consciousness. After a while, she wakes up because of a strong sandstorm, so she wakes up quickly and keeps looking for her children. Cassie comes to the sound of her voice and hugs her and is happy that she has woken up and is better. Then Julia takes them and they enter the container to protect themselves from the storm. At that time, Julia uses the gunpowder of the bullets she finds to cauterize her wound, then ties her legs well so the wound doesn't get infected. Then she asks Ben and Cass to take any weapons they see. Then they drink from the water they found inside the container. Julia then goes to look for a radio device inside the other containers and is able to find one. She calls Noah and tells him everything that happened to them. Noah tells her that he was also attacked by crabs last night and he knows that she has to go to him quickly because the ocean is moving faster than expected and that he will reach the place within a few hours. Julia tells him that she lost her map and she doesn't know how to reach him. Noah tells her to look at the sky, then he fires a shot into the sky with the signal gun. As soon as Julia and her children see the shot, they are able to determine his location and move towards it quickly. They are walking in the middle of a mountain path and suddenly a storm happens and it is raining, and because of the rain, the rocks move from their place and fall on them, and at that moment, Julia pushes her children away to protect them and the rocks fall on her and she imagines her legs and she does not move. In addition to that, there is a large rock that falls between her and her children and blocks the way between them. Cassie calls out to Julia and asks her to hold on and climb the rocks, but Julia can't move due to the pain. She yells at Cassie, telling her to take Ben and go to the submarine, promising to follow them. Cassie has no choice but to do so. She takes her brother Ben and quickly moves towards the submarine. When they reach it, Cassie knocks on the glass to get Now to come out, but she is shocked to find Now outside the submarine, bleeding from every part of his body. Now knows he's about to die from his injuries and tells her they only have minutes before the ocean returns. Cassie runs quickly to get her mother. At that moment, Julia's condition improves slightly, but she finds a large number of crabs approaching her. She grabs the weapon and shoots at them until the bullets run out. Julia breaks down and resigns herself to her fate, but suddenly Cassie appears and extends her hand to help her. Julia gathers all her strength and climbs the rocks until Cassie grabs her hand and saves her. Afterward, they run as fast as they can to reach the submarine. The crabs are coming after them, but Cassie and Julia reach the submarine before the crabs and climb on top of it. Julia and her children leave the submarine and are shocked by the scene in front of them. They find themselves in a completely destroyed city with no people. The film ends. If you like the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next